Once there was a woman named Sophia, who had the most stunning blue eyes. Her eyes were so blue that they seemed to glow, almost like they were lit from within. Sophia's eyes were her most striking feature, and she often received compliments from people who couldn't help but be captivated by their beauty. But Sophia had a secret. She was born with a rare condition that caused her eyes to be extremely sensitive to light. Even on cloudy days, the sun's rays felt like daggers piercing her eyes. She had to wear dark glasses whenever she went outside and spent most of her time indoors, in dimly lit rooms. One day, Sophia discovered an old, abandoned room in her house. It was a small room with no windows, and the only source of light was a handful of candles scattered around the space. Sophia felt a strange pull towards the room and decided to make it her own. She moved in a few of her favorite things, including a comfortable chair and a collection of books, and made it her sanctuary. As Sophia spent more and more time in the room, she found that the flickering light of the candles was soothing to her eyes. She could finally relax without feeling the constant pain of the bright lights outside. She began to read and write in the room, and found that her creativity flourished in the dimly lit space. People began to notice that Sophia was different. She didn't go out much, and when she did, she always wore her dark glasses. But those who knew her well saw a change in her demeanor. She was happier and more at peace than they had ever seen her before. Sophia's blue eyes still shone brightly, but now they were filled with a sense of contentment and calm. She had found her own little corner of the world where she could be herself, and her eyes no longer held the pain of the outside world. Sophia was content with her new space, and soon it became a place of solace for her. She would spend hours at a time in the dimly lit room, reading, writing, and reflecting. Her mind would wander, and she would find herself lost in the stories she was reading or the worlds she was creating in her own writing. One day, Sophia decided to light more candles in the room. She wanted to see if she could create an even cozier atmosphere, and to her delight, it worked. The soft, flickering light of the candles created a warm and inviting ambience, and Sophia felt like she was in a cocoon of comfort. As Sophia spent more time in the room, she began to notice that the candles themselves were fascinating. Each one had its own unique flame pattern, and the way they danced in the air was mesmerizing. She started to collect different kinds of candles, and soon her room was filled with an assortment of sizes, colors, and scents. One evening, while she was reading, Sophia noticed something strange happening. The flames of the candles began to change shape, flickering and moving in a way that seemed almost intentional. She rubbed her eyes, thinking she was seeing things, but the shapes continued to form. Soon, Sophia realized that the candles were trying to communicate with her. The flickering flames created shapes that formed words, and Sophia was amazed. The candles were telling her stories, stories that she had never heard before. She watched, mesmerized, as the flames created intricate patterns and wove tales of adventure and magic. Sophia realized that her eyes, which had always been seen as a burden, were actually a gift. Her sensitivity to light allowed her to see things that others couldn't, and now she was able to communicate with the candles in a way that no one else could. She spent many hours in her magical room, listening to the candles and learning from them. And so, Sophia became known as the woman who could talk to candles. She would share the stories that the candles told her with anyone who would listen, and her stories became the stuff of legend. People from all over the world came to her dimly lit room to hear the tales of adventure and magic, and they left feeling inspired and enchanted. Sophia's blue eyes continued to shine brightly, but now they were filled with the wonder and magic of the world that she had discovered in her special room. And her gift of communicating with candles had turned her into a storyteller like no other. As Sophia grew older, her fame as a storyteller grew with her. She never forgot the little room that had become her sanctuary, and she continued to spend time there whenever she could. She had made peace with her sensitivity to light, and instead saw it as a gift that had opened up a whole new world to her. Years went by, and eventually, Sophia passed away. But her stories lived on, passed down through generations of storytellers who had been inspired by her gift of communicating with candles. little room with the flickering candles became a place of pilgrimage for those who loved her stories, a place where they could feel the magic of her words and the warmth of her spirit. And so, Sophia's legacy lived on, not just in the stories she had told, but in the way that she had embraced her own unique gifts and used them to create something beautiful. Her blue eyes, which had once been a source of pain, had become a source of wonder and magic, and her memory lived on as a reminder of the power of imagination and the beauty of the human spirit.